What's up, y'all? This is MrLetGo, and today we're about to talk about something that I didn't even know existed, which is birth order psychology. So I'm here with Dr. Tori Love, and I met her last night at an event. It's like this nice rooftop event, right? And we just got to talking, and she started telling me about this birth order stuff. And I was like, my mind was literally blown. So as we get into this, you guys are going to potentially find out or come to the realization of why your past relationships probably never worked out. And it's probably because of this birth order stuff. So introduce yourself, Tori, Dr. Tori.
Thank you. All right, everybody. I'm Dr. First of all, thank you, Mr. Let Go, for first of all enjoying that conversation, but then saying, let's talk about this with other people. I'm Dr. Tori Love. I'm a love and relationships coach as well. I love helping people use common sense to remove nonsense so their relationships make sense, which means we probably need a license to date. So that's kind of where I'm representing today is the power of our relationships and knowing what we need to know to have good ones. How many want a good relationship? Raise your hand. Okay, I see you. I see you. A couple of you. All right. Some people like ragtag, but some people like good. So our conversation last night was about some of the things you just don't know, and what you don't know, you can't use. So I wanted to share some of the things we talked about, because if you had only known, things could have been different. You would
That's
only
what's up. So everybody come in, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. Y'all already know I don't do nothing until y'all start hitting the like button. So hopefully y'all don't hit the like button already. Cash App is open. Drop a super chat in the chat. Let's get started. So the first thing I want to start off with is just the thought process of how so many of us, as men and women, we get frustrated with the opposite sex, and we sit around and talk mess about women. We sit around talk mess about men, how this person this and this person that, right? But what if the reason why our relationships aren't working out or our relationships keep failing is because of you being the only child, or you being the youngest sibling, or you being the oldest sibling, and you being the only child. According to what Dr. Love said last night, we're going to get into it. Only children aren't good people to only children. They're not good. She's going to get into it, so I might, not know. But one of the things she told me is that made sense with me. I'm an only child, right? And I don't think I've either ever had anything work out with a woman that was an only child, or like because overall, as an only child, you start getting attracted to other people's families, because I didn't really have a big family, right? I don't know a lot of my family. It was just me and my mom. So when I date a woman and she got sisters and brothers and all this, and then mom and everybody's around, I love it. It makes me feel good about everything, right? Because I'm like, wow, I'm around these people that seem to love me. I didn't have that growing up. It was just me and my mom. So when she said me being an only child, like I'm better for a certain type of woman with her family dynamic, it literally blew my mind. So we're going to get into it, because like I said, I don't know nothing about this not mess, but I don't know nothing about this stuff. And I'm ready to learn, because it's not mess. It can teach me something. So hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. I'm finna check to see if y'all don't hit the like button, because we just gonna sit here and look crazy at y'all until y'all hit the like button. So hold on. Sorry, I gotta check up on my people, because if I don't yell at them, Sadly, they ain't gonna hit no damn like button. See, it's only at 31 likes. Can y'all hit the like button, y'all? We need 100 likes before we get started. We need 100 likes before we get started because I want to learn too. So y'all holding me back because I don't know nothing about this stuff either. We were just at the dinner table, just having a conversation. So okay, hopefully y'all have hit the like button now because I'm ready to go. So let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. So we were at the dinner table talking last night about birth order. And can you like explain to the audience like all of this? Because it was crazy.
Okay, so welcome to the psychological world where so much information is available to us. Thank God for the internet because you can really look a lot of this up online. But let me introduce you to the whole idea of what birth order is and why it matters to our love relationships. First of all, we're all born into a family of some sort, right? And as we grow up, we begin to see what looks right, what makes sense, and then we kind of, as little video recorders, decide that this is right, whatever it is. Right or wrong, good or bad, whether it doesn't matter what it is, we believe it's right. And we learn this is how I will do this when I'm able on my own to create my own love relationships. Whether mom and dad loved you right, whether mom and whoever was there, grandma, whoever, you duplicate that. So you've seen this in work settings, but we're going to talk about love relationships, right? Because the way your home environment was when you were in your first 4 years of life specifically, and I want everybody to really think back. I want everybody to be able to walk out of this conversation and know where you are birth order wise and what kinds of what kinds of people are best for you when it comes to relationships and how to adapt and adjust if you have someone in a position and you're wondering why there's friction. There's stuff you can do about it, right? So when you're the firstborn in a family, let's say you have a mom and a dad and you wake up and you're in the family. Mom and dad are so excited to have you. You are their firstborn child, and that means they're doting, they're careful. They wipe off every surface for you. They're super careful, super careful, super careful. You become the only person that matters for them. So you begin to shine. You are so excited, you're there. And then over time, let's say a year passes or 2 years pass, they decide to have another child. Well, your perspective shifts when you were the one person that everyone was focused on, and then you have to share attention. So this is why birth order matters. And you've heard of this. How is it that 5 kids can be raised by the same 2 people and all have different lives, different perspectives, different attitudes? You're like, how were you even raised by my mother? My mother would never. How do you even, you've heard these conversations, right? It's because your perspective changes. So when you're the first child in a family, you're the only one there. But when another one comes in, you're kind of dethroned. All of a sudden,
say that part again. That's important. Say that part again.
When another child is born into the family, the firstborn child is dethroned. They are no longer the center of attention. All of a sudden, there's this new thing in the house. It's squirmy, and they're all smiling at it, but they're not smiling at me. Why are you smiling at that? Smile at me. What happened? Where am I? So the firstborn child gets dethroned and then has to shift their perspective. Now they have to share. Now they have to sit at the table with someone else. Now they have to be responsible for someone else who grows up. And then they can't just do what they want. Mom says, don't touch the baby. Don't touch the baby. You're responsible for your baby sister. So all these new messages come in. And then we have the situation of competition. How many firstborns do we have in the room? Exactly. Have you ever found yourself in a position where it was like you were competing with your little brother, little sister? It's because now there's 2. Now you have to share. That's a whole new experience. Now you have to wait and make sure that that person has the same thing. You got to be responsible because you're the oldest. Now you're in charge. So that's where we start to see that super responsibility piece coming for the firstborn kid. Firstborn
Right.
kid is usually pretty responsible. And it shows up in work as well. You go into a room, you see chaos, you're like, I know what to do here. Why? Because your mom who loves you, your dad who loves you, put you in, your parents love you, but they put you in situations where you become the sort of parent when they're not around. And they're like, okay, I'm going to go in the other room. You're responsible. Make sure this happens. Make sure that happens. You know, so all of a sudden they're like little adults, little parents over the gets born. So those two, this is real interesting. If you're a family of just, if you only have one sibling and the two of you are within 4 years of age, it's very common to see the oldest be really great in athletics. And they want to shine, so they go over to athletics. So the second born looks at him and says, well, I'm not trying to be good at athletics. I'm going to be good in academics. So they shine over in the academics. So we have the star athlete in the family, and then we have the star smart kid doing A's and B's in their classes. And they're both depending on the family. If the family has high standards, which also depends on the birth order of the parents, but if they have high standards, you're going to see the firstborn and the secondborn excel. But they're not necessarily going to both be in athletics unless it's an athletic family and then they're competing to see who's the best athlete. But even if they do, one picks football, the other one picks baseball.
So they can kind of like separate themselves.
And shine.
And shine.
Everybody wants to shine. Everybody wants to shine, and we should shine because we can shine. But we have to be aware that some of it is based on how our family sees the world, and that's how we tend to see it. And to be honest,
isn't that rooted in dysfunction or no? Would that be called rooted in dysfunction, or is that healthy?
If the family is dysfunctional, you will have dysfunction. You have to deal with your family wounds. You have to deal with your childhood wounds. Period. Okay. Blank. Period. But if you can look at it through a different lens, you can understand why you want to be the most whatever is significant in the family, and why there's competition there. So if you see that, you can address that and you recognize it. So let's say things are rolling along just fine.
Oh, hold on one second. Something isn't rolling along just fine. Y'all ain't hitting the damn like button. So if y'all want things to continue to be rolling along just fine, y'all need to hit the damn like button. So y'all want this information, y'all got to do something, okay? That's what life is about, right? Life is about earning stuff. So you have to earn this information by either 1, hitting the like button, 2, dropping a Cash App. Cash App is open, Aaron 1000 at the bottom of the screen, or drop a super chat. You pick one, but I need everybody in this chat to be hitting one of these damn buttons. So pick one and do something. So we're going to go into another commercial break, and because y'all tripping. So if y'all don't hit this damn like button, hit the damn like button right now. Okay, so maybe y'all ain't hitting the like button because y'all birth order is out of whack or something. I don't know. But okay. Sorry, Dr. Tori. Like, let's get to it.
Listen, this is valuable to know. If you want relationships to work better, you need more information. You need to know information and use information, apply information. That's kind of academic. I get that. But I'm telling you, this is so useful if you just know it and look at your life. I'm really hoping that we get some people to recognize where they are so they can look into who they are so they can be better at being themselves. Because if you don't know who you are really well, you're not able to present yourself in a relationship well because you don't know your triggers. You don't know what sets you off. You don't know where you need to be. You don't know what you're supposed to do. So this whole conversation, if we could split into clubs of firstborns, if all the firstborns were in a room, they would understand each other almost regardless of culture. almost regardless of culture. That's how pervasive this is. So
Okay.
I don't need to be academic, but I'm an academician. I did my PhD and my dissertation on this entire topic, which opened my eyes too. So I really want to share it. And I hope eventually, if they don't come now, they'll come later. But this is real. This
Okay.
is why some stuff is not working in your life, because you don't know who you are. And this
Right.
is a definite detail. Your firstborn
Okay.
status, your secondborn status, and don't let mom and dad make another baby. Don't let another child come in the family. Then we have three. So we have our firstborn, who was already dethroned. Now we have a secondborn who had never heard of another child showing up. And now we have a middle child, and a second child, the youngest. All right. The youngest baby comes in, and that shifts everyone's perspective because the firstborn becomes super more responsible than before. And we have a secondborn who has to now negotiate between the firstborn, who has a title, the firstborn, and the baby. Oh, look at the baby. Isn't the baby sweet? Parents
Yeah.
do not treat the third child the way they treated the first child.
You treat them
First
better or
child,
worse?
oh, it's so relaxed. First child drops a pacifier, they dive on the pacifier, throw it into a pot of boiling water, dry it, and give it back.
Yeah.
Second baby, they drop the pacifier, they rinse it off. Third baby comes, they drop the pacifier, people pick the pacifier up, lick it, and put it in the baby's mouth. Whole different experience. Whole different experience. And my parents know what I'm talking about. Raise your hand. You know it. If you did that,
That's real.
saw some differences. So the youngest child has a whole different attitude because the firstborn can say, Mom, why would you never let me do that? Why are you gonna let him do that? That's not fair. Well, they're tired now. They've already been through two babies. The novelty has worn off a bit. They still love babies. They still want babies. People love children, okay?
Yeah.
But the youngest child gets to be the more relaxed person now. They drop a cup on the floor, it sits there until somebody else comes and picks it up.
Okay.
Have you noticed the first one's like, we're not going to have this mess up in here. We're going to have a clean house. It's going to be straight. However, the youngest is like, well, I'll get it later, because by the time later comes, it's gone, usually.
Mm-hmm.
Check around. Any of you youngest have a more relaxed attitude? And so what's happened to the second child is they become middle. They kind of have now gotten lost in the shuffle, because the oldest child is probably walking and in charge. The baby's in somebody's lap, and the middle child is standing around without a title.
Wow.
So it really matters when you don't have a title in the family, because you begin to be overlooked.
Yeah.
You have to matter. You have to do things to matter. So all my middle children, think about this. Are you the one who's concerned about fairness in the family?
Real quick, I want everybody in the chat to tell us, drop in the chat, which child are you? Are you the only child? Are you the middle child? Or are you the baby? Like, put in the chat. I would love to see how this is resonating with you all. So put your birth order status in the chat. Are you the only child, the first child, the middle child, or the baby, or the third child? But go ahead. This is dope.
And this is fun because the middle child tends to grow if the family grows. But it does depend on a couple of other things. So while you're picking your birth order, you may not hear yourself just yet, or it may not be matching just yet, because there's two other factors I want to bring up. Okay. While we're talking about the middle child, let me say, the middle child is the one who's more concerned about making sure that everybody's got an equal share. Okay. Why? Because if this one is oldest and feels like they deserve more, they'll cut the cake and take the biggest slice. The middle child is like, that's not right. I'll cut it, and then you pick. And the middle child is going to be
like the referee or something.
They tend to be that. As a matter of fact, you'll find many attorneys happen to have middle-born status. Attorneys, because they're concerned about fairness.
Whoa. Okay.
That's birth order in your face. That's birth order helping you understand why that mattered to you your whole life. You wanted to make sure everything was fair. It's not fair that she gets two just because she's the oldest. I'm just as tall. Okay, yeah, you are just as tall, and you do deserve. Okay. But there are times when parents sometimes treat children differently simply because of their birth order, which is why each person's experience can be so very different and why they have such different attitudes. Now, Can't you see why you need to know this before you think so and so's cute?
Yes.
So and so's cute, but guess what? In a classroom of students, the majority, I can walk in a room of 20 people and tell who your firstborns are.
Let me tell a story real quick. I, of course, am an only child. And since you brought this up last night, I started thinking about my relationships, right, in the past. And one of the women that I dated that I was really close to, she was an oldest child, right?
Right.
And just thinking about it now. And she used to always fuss at her brothers, right? Just, on the phone. Her brothers were kind of like losers or whatever. One was in and out of jail, right? And it was a point where she found herself thinking she gonna talk to me like that, right?
Right.
So it was a tone like, like, what? Why? Like, what are you doing? Something like that. And I'm like, yo, who are you talking to?
I'm not the one.
You're right. So who you think you're talking to? She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm not your little brothers. Like, I know you be talking to them like that, but you ain't gonna talk to me like that. So if this is gonna be a problem, we need to end this now. Like, I'm not with this stuff.
Yep.
She's
You know
like,
what?
oh, okay, but why? Don't get back into it. She still want to get, but why? Sit down. Don't be questioning me. Sit down somewhere. With the tone. You
Right.
can question me, ask me, but not with that damn tone. So until you can change your tone, don't ask me nothing, right? Because it was wired in her to have this tone when talking to a man. So a lot of women have a certain tone
Right.
when talking to a man. And then they
Right.
get with a man like me and I tell her sit her ass down. Now she's like, oh, who you talking to? And I'm like, no, who you talking to? Right? But it could come from the
Definitely.
birth order where she's running around yelling at her little brother since she was 5 or whatever. And now she's a grown woman and she doesn't know she's doing it. So this is real. So go ahead. I just want to say that.
Okay, so let's go back to the firstborn who had those siblings show up. Imagine being the firstborn, watching adults walking around, and there's no child that comes in to shift your perspective. This is the only child. The only child gets to be both the oldest child, the firstborn, but
And
they're
the
also
baby.
the baby of the family. So we find completely different characteristics in the only child, but they're a little bit, it's like a super firstborn and a super lastborn because it's one and the only, and the mold was made around this one person. They're independent, they're creative, they're different. You can usually tell. I'm in a classroom with young ladies at Spelman doing my license to date program, and one young lady came in and she had her hair all the way down to her butt in a ponytail all the way down. And she was so independent and she was doing creative things. She was living her life, blah, blah, blah. Well, she was the only child. She didn't have anyone ever come in to say to her, that's too much, that's too far, that's too little. That she was her own person. Nobody could tell her how to do what because she was super responsible. She was operating from within. Nobody had to show her or tell her. She already knew what to do because only children are known as the little adult. They typically walk earlier than the average baby. Some
The
babies
first
sit
child?
around. The only child tends to walk earlier because all of the adults in their family are walking. Why am I sitting on the floor? Everybody walks.
Wait, so that means since I'm the only child, I'm smarter than all y'all.
That's what you think. Exactly.
No,
Exactly.
it's not real. Like,
To you it
no.
is.
You
That's
guys
fine.
walking when I started walking before all of y'all asses. How about that?
Yep. See, that's my point. That's exactly my point because you learn vocabulary earlier. You speak sooner because you don't do baby talk. There's nobody doing baby talk in the house. Once you're past a certain age, you're using words, right? So the
Yeah.
adults in the family treat you like a young adult. That's why you will notice any of your only children. Listen, have you found that the friends in your life are either 4 years older than you deal with them a lot better, or 4 years younger than you? Nobody right at your age seems to be mature at your level. You got to find somebody who's either up there or lower. That's because of the adulting that goes on when you're little.
Okay.
Have you noticed that, Mr. Only Child?
As only children, we don't notice nothing because we don't care about none of y'all. So
But notice the responsibility to teach and train what we know. I'm an only child as well. Obviously, I would be one. But
right.
when you go to higher education, let me talk to my college students, my high school graduates who are at the top of their class. Most students in certain graduate programs are either firstborns or only children. In a study that was done with, can't do that study right now, can't tell you the details, but I can
Okay.
say the majority of people who are in advanced education tend to be firstborns, tend to be only children. They
Only
tend to
children.
drive and certain determination. They feel a responsibility to fix things. If they go into a party, like I said, the firstborn and the onlys are the ones who go to work. They're like, I know what's wrong over here. The air conditioner's out or the water's dripping down here. Let me just tweak it. They may not even tell you they're about to do it. They just kind of go to work. And
Yeah.
they do that. The person is falling out of a chair. They're the first ones to go help pick them up out of the chair. So when you know yourself and your tendencies, you know your place in a crowd or in a group or in a circle of people, you recognize why you're attracted to certain other people. Let's talk about attraction. But I want to first make sure we've covered birth order, firstborns, responsible, caring, handle business, talk to people like they're supposed to obey. Like your friend, the one you tried to get with, had probably more than two little brothers. And she
Mhm.
was the one who had to control all of them with her voice.
Yep.
She didn't have real power because mom and dad or parents have the power, but the oldest sometimes has the same power as the parents. You'll
Yeah.
notice some oldest born handle everything. They handle
Mhm.
everybody's situations when things go down. They're the ones that have the money. They are the ones. So let me just do a one thing we talked about last night too. If a woman, for instance, instead of being the oldest, is the youngest of six brothers, what is her experience like? First, what's her nickname? Her nickname is Princess. Yes, Princess, you probably have 3 to 5 brothers older than you. Mm-hmm. And what do they do for you, Princess? They do
For
everything.
her.
They do everything for you. What you need. Here you go. How
Yep.
many of you? Here they are. Who's that over there messing with my sister? I will kill a brother for me. Yes, he will. Yes, they all will. They will. You find a boy beat up on some corner because we don't know what happened. That's Princess's brothers working for her.
Hmm.
But guess what happens when we have a man who's at the bottom of six big sisters? What do
This
they
is
do?
when it gets good, y'all. Go ahead.
What do they do for him? What do those big sisters, six of
Pick
them,
up after him. Pick up
name it,
after him. Yep.
cook, clean, drive, buy, serve? Now, here's where it comes to relationships and your life experience from 0 to 10, 12, 20. What you're used to is just what you're used to. What you like is what you like. If a man tries to date Princess, he's going to have to compete with all of her big brothers. He's
Hmm.
going to have to serve a big space like all of her big brothers. And if he falls short of any of them, of doing what brother number three would have done, brother number three is there to do it. Brother number three is still there. Princess can go complain or cry. He didn't pay this. He didn't do this. And those brothers will say, baby, I got you. Don't worry about him. You don't need him anyway. So it takes a really, hmm, it takes knowledge to know what you're dealing with so that you can
Hmm.
be where you want to be with the people you say you want to be with. But if you don't know what they're dealing with and what their expectations are, you can't possibly satisfy them the way their family did. So if
Right.
Princess and Little Prince like each other and try to date, how is that relationship going to go?
It's not gonna go because Princess is going to think that her man is supposed to live up to this, this fairy tale world of I'll hand you everything on a silver platter, and the baby, and the baby boy, because they're both babies in their families, he's going to be used to women picking up behind him and filling out his resume and picking out his pants.
Absolutely. And
Yep.
this might be hard to hear, so my apologies, a disclaimer. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm just trying to enlighten everybody about who and where they are. when you know yourself and you can embrace that and introduce that to people and present it properly, you don't have to be mad about people misunderstanding you. It's
Yeah.
okay to understand you, but you have to know what to say about what's happening. You have to recognize it and not constantly be mad that you keep picking the wrong people and wonder why it doesn't work out. Well, there's a lot to know about people before you think they're a good partner for you. And your birth order position does indeed matter. Now, let
Okay.
me go back
Hold on.
to, go
Hold
ahead.
on. So let me say this. A couple things. One, everybody hit the like button. 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 And two, if you're on Facebook and this is helping you out in any kind of way, make sure to share it with your share it onto your Facebook page, because this can help a lot of the people on your Facebook page. Or if you're on YouTube, take this link and share it with people in your group chats, in your text group chat, in your Instagram group chat, in your Facebook group chat. So I need everybody right now to take a second and find a way to share this video with the rest of the people that you cool with. Take the link and then drop it into your text chat. And all y'all ladies, y'all have like text groups or whatever. And guys, this can help the dudes too, because we don't understand these women. But at the end of the day, it's not really about understanding women. It's about possibly understanding our birth order and why we do what we do. So to the guys also, make sure to share this with guys in your group chat, because this will actually help us understand these freaking women, So this is really good information. And put a 1 in the chat if you have a question.
Yeah.
If you have a question, or like you want to know more about your own situation or whatever, put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you have a question about your life, birth order, your situation, your relationship, or whatever. Put a 1 in the chat if you actually is like, yo, I got a question. I want to know about this in my situation. Put a 1 in the chat if that is you. So go ahead, Dr. Tori.
Okay, so let's talk about the psychological positioning, because you could have a completely different birth order experience, even if you are the firstborn, middle child, secondborn. And it's like sometimes people have little families. So let's say your little brother is 2 years younger than you, and then your parents waited 6 years to have another person. Well, that person is going to come along pretty much by themselves. You two will be out of the house at school, and that one is going to literally be a psychological only child, because what matters is the first 4 years of your life in this configuration. So there is this condition where a person might have two siblings, but they're all 13 years apart. I got three, there's three of us. Yeah, but the first one came through and had 13 whole years to themselves. And they're all unique and shapely, doing their own thing, their own way. They've created some cure to cancer. Okay. Then 13 years have passed and there's a new one. They come in, they don't have any competition. They don't have anybody to shape them. There's no reason for those three kids to be alike at all, except in maybe some DNA matter. Maybe they look alike. They might wear glasses. But they're unique. They're created uniquely and without any shaping or anybody harassing them about who they are and how they are. They have an internal set of requirements, and they're going to push themselves to accomplish what they have to do. Whatever that thing is that's in them that they think would make the world a better place. They're going to be on platforms. They're going to be in educational institutions. They're going to be star athletes. They're going to be the ones who's pushing in the area they think that their uniqueness needs to be expressed. And then again, that 13 years later, there's a whole new one. So yes, you can have a lot of siblings and still be a psychological only child.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why some people are like, that's not me. I'm not that. I have 16 siblings. Okay, who was in the house the first 4 years of your life? Who was born in those first 4 years, older and younger? That's going to determine if you're the oldest or the youngest. So some families have two kids 13 months apart, and then 6 years passed and they have two more. So there are four kids, but we have two firstborns and two youngest. So that will determine in part whether you're a firstborn or youngest, regardless of how many kids were in the family. But what about my daddy? He had 16 kids and my mom only had 4. Who was in the house when you were growing up in your first 4 years?
The
It doesn't
first
matter.
4 years.
First 4 years.
Because the reason why the first 4 years is so significant is because that's where all the majority of your brain's neurons actually start forming between 0 and 7, actually. But your first 4 years is really where you start getting an understanding of what's going on around you. And your parents interact with you when you are a baby. See, when you're 5 and 6 and 7, you're no longer a baby. You're now a toddler, right? So from 0 to 4, you're actually, I'm not saying a 2-year-old isn't a toddler, but a 2-year-old is totally different than a 5-year-old. So the first 4 years, you're treated like a little baby, and you can kind of like do whatever you want to do. You ain't talking, you carry it everywhere. But when you're when you're 5, 6, and 7, you're starting to be expected to do stuff. You're expected to know stuff, right?
Yes.
Right. So the first 4 years are the main things that's important for you to know how you grew up in the first 4 years.
Yes.
So let's do this. If you have a question that we can just answer in reading, just drop a super chat. All right. So put it in a super chat. It'll change the color, and we'll Dr. Tori, if she has time, she'll answer it in the conversation.
Yeah.
So if you have a question about your situation and you can keep it short, put it in the super chat so we can see it, because it's just a whole bunch of comments. But putting in a super chat will put some color behind it, and we'll be able, it'll stand out. So if you have a question about your particular situation, make it short, put it in a super chat. But go ahead, because we about to get to another part.
Yes, we are. Okay, so your psychological perspective determines whether you're firstborn, only child, middleborn, lastborn. And there can be a whole host of middle children, okay, because there might be 12 in the family, everybody's a year and a half apart. That means we have one firstborn, one youngest, and 10 middle children. Now, I'm saying that because I love middle children. I love middle children. Why? Because when it comes to love, some of these middle children are pretty great catches. So smile, pats up on the back if you're one of those middle children, because there's something special about you. So let me go into one more thing about displacement. If there were two of you and the oldest child had an ailment or got sick or they died or something happened.
Foster children.
What's that? Or what?
Displacement count as foster children too? Like
foster children. Okay. Yes, if it's in the first 4 years, if something shifts and you were born and then a new child pops in right above you because they're a foster kid and they live with you for those first 4 years, that can shift your perspective. You could be the oldest and still act like the second born. And again, if something happened to them and you're put in a place of responsibility to take care of your big sister who broke a leg, and was maybe differently abled, then you take on the responsibilities. It's about the actions of your young life, what you were taught, what you were expected to do, who had to wash the dishes and take care of the kids. If mom and dad disappeared, or if your parents disappeared and you were 8, and all that time you were the one driving, getting people ready for school. You might have been the second born, but the firstborn didn't do it. Sometimes they shift. So your perspective is your perspective, and nobody's going to take your perspective from you. But when you know what you're working with, you can do more with it. So that's all the perspectives. Everybody pick your birth order, do some adjusting. Circumstances that shifted things for you, or someone even, died in the family. Yeah, there are 5 of you, but there's only 3 of you that were there for the first 4 years. All of that is relative. So I'm just giving you the freedom to be you. Just be you, okay? But know that who you are is attracted to people for different things. It's not all about the physical look. Some of it's about who you are and how you do what you do. So it's in what you were saying earlier about how only children don't like each other that much. I did a study with 1,100 couples, and only 11% of my couple groups had attracted themselves to each other as only children. So the only children might admire each other. They might love the way that person does what they do, but it's too uncomfortable when 2 only children try to use their uniqueness in the same space. If they're not able to ebb, flow, cooperate, and connect, it's just going to kind of crumble. So if you're an only child, look around and see if you have found yourself attracted to, but not able to work it out with someone who shares either the firstborn or the only child position.
Mm.
If you're the oldest child, guess what? Same thing. Because you know you're right, but they think they're right. And when you do the bills one way, they're telling you didn't do it right because you missed one time. And then
Right.
I would have done it right that time because I don't miss on that because I know how to do it. But I was the one who ran the whole finances in my family, so I know how I'm doing it. So all of a sudden we got head rolling, neck rolling, fuss fighting about who's doing it right.
Because their realities are different.
Exactly. And they were expected by parents to manage 10 other people, 6 other people, and they doggone did a good job. So who are you to be coming in my life telling me what to do? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the oldest, and not always the best. I'm not saying you can't work a thing out because
So the
my personal
oldest child is
perspective,
usually trash.
like I said, I'm not saying you can't work it out with whoever you want to work it out with. You got to work harder to work it out, is all I'm saying. And if you
Okay.
get the right supports and information, you can work it out with anybody. I don't care who it is. I don't care where they are. So Dr. Tori said you can work it out with whoever you want to. It is up to you, no matter how many traumas and difficulties you face. It's up to you. But doggone it, you got to be ready to put in the work because it
Okay.
won't be easy. Okay. So
Okay.
middle children, doggone it, same thing. And yeah, because
So
see,
the
here's what
middle
happens with
children
middle
are
kids.
trash.
What happens with middle children? Again, this is some of my heroes. Y'all heard me, right? Some of my heroes, because they've learned to put up with a bunch of crap. They're like, if I fuss about this, I'm not going to get any headway anywhere. No one's going to change it. And if I fuss about this youngest, dang it, just forget it. So sometimes the middle kids won't speak up. They're not going to always say, this is bugging me. They've learned to just put up with things and just say, look, that's just the way it is. So when
Mm.
together, if something is bothering the other one, they probably need to say things like, if something's bothering you, say so. Here's a little tip jar, or we can improve things better by writing them down and reading them later. Sometimes the face to face isn't really comfortable. So,
So are middle children more cases of emotionally unavailable to their mate? Possibly middle children.
it would be
Let's wait.
possible.
Let's identify. So, in your opinion, because I don't know,
Yeah.
let's just do a vague identification.
Okay.
Vague identification. So, are you saying the oldest child is more okay? The middle child sounds like they're possibly, potentially more emotionally unavailable, right? No, yes,
The reason I can't put a label on
potentially.
that is, for one, a whole lot of people are emotionally unavailable, and there's a whole lot of reasons for that. Birth
Right.
order is definitely a key. It is
Right.
definitely a key. But if you're involved with someone who doesn't get you, it's very easy to shut down and be emotionally unavailable because you don't feel safe with them. But it could be because you pick somebody with a birth order that doesn't mesh with you. Remember Princess and Junior Young? They're not going to be able to talk to each other about it because they're going to
Yeah.
keep going. Just don't understand. Just don't
Yeah.
understand. Like a house full of boys, there's 10 of them. They don't
Yeah.
understand why women have stuff going on in their life. They're like, just be normal, be like us. You grew up
Mm.
in a household full of boys. You don't know women. You don't know how women operate or function or what they deal with on a regular monthly basis. There's a whole lot of
Yeah.
facts. So you can be emotionally unavailable just because you're not feeling like they get you. So what do?
Mm.
You pick someone who gets you. Here's one way to evaluate the people in your life. First, let's start with my dissertation resulted in finding out that when it comes to, okay, let me tell you the title just for fun. My title was Birth Order and Marital Satisfaction as measured by the Enriched Couple Inventory. So there are inventories where you can go as a married couple, as a loving couple, and see where you have successful and unsuccessful areas to work on. But you would have to be bad enough and bold enough to say, I need some help, and there are professionals who can help me do an assessment. Doggone it, the internet will let you do an assessment. But you can tell what areas you all are not getting along in. It could be money. It could be there's just little elements that could make things better. So
Yeah.
the enrich is what I use to determine how happy, adult only children were in marital satisfaction rate. So it turns out that first of all, the only children didn't pick each other. So if you have an only child person in your life, you're going to have to really allow for freedom for both of you to be able to ebb and flow and take up all the space and understand how the other person feels and sees the world. They see the world as their oyster. They can do any and everything they
I'm like
want.
that.
And that's why you wouldn't need a woman telling you all kinds of things to do because you already figured it out. I mean, you already figured it out. You already figured it out. So they would have to say things in a whole different tone of voice to get your attention. They would
Yeah.
have to say, I was thinking about something. Let me tell me what you think about this. And they would have to engage you in a way where you're figuring out how to solve, again, the problems of the world, which you do here by sharing all the information you come across. That's an only child thing. That's you. And not only, I'm not suggesting that only children are the only ones who do this, but I am suggesting that's something they would do. So
what
only children are, go ahead.
what is the main attribute, the vague attribute about the oldest child then? If the biggest attribute with the middle child is, all right, nobody's listening to me, so I'm just going to shut down because I'm tired of being the referee. What would the main attribute be about the oldest child? Just in case I missed that part.
Yeah, oldest and only tend to do best with people who allow them to practice all the stuff that they love to do. And that would be a really great match. The best match for an oldest child is a youngest.
Okay.
And you all know that makes sense because the youngest child.
We talked about last night. Wouldn't that make them want to mother the other person or father the other person because of that? We talked about that last night.
Right, we did. And it's not that you have to mother someone to be the more organized person or be a mother just because you want to make sure that there are certain standards that we maintain in the house or that we always do this or we carefully do that. It's like they fit together like two pieces of a puzzle. There's a place where there's room. Because like I was saying, the middle children, not so much. The youngest, not so much together. Because what would happen if a youngest picked a youngest versus an oldest? What would happen is they could get into financial crises.
Yeah.
Because the spending kind of goes and comes. Who's paying the bills? I thought you paid the bill. I thought you said you were going to pay the bill. Why the lights out? Well, who didn't pay the bill? I don't know. Just go get a candle. We'll eat by candlelight.
Yeah.
But they could get into some financial challenges at times. Youngest people, you tell me if that's your experience, it may not be. But if it is, that could be part of it because no one is necessarily strict about making sure that some of these details are handled. Just like if an oldest person was connected to the youngest, it might be the oldest person's space, the person who's oldest to say, let me handle this part and you handle the fun and you help make sure we're relaxed and we're not always tense around here. You be the comedian. When you look around at our comedians, you will find many of them are the youngest. Because when it comes to stress and tension, let me just shift over to that for a second. Sometimes the youngest born is the one who will be the distractor in the family. The oldest is typically the hero. I will save the day. Okay. But the youngest is like, I will distract us when there's a fight going on in the house or when people are and fussing. I will, oh, look at this. Hey, look at me. Look at me.
Yeah.
That's a function that we need in the family. I mean, families work like systems. So you've got a history of being the entertaining person and the relaxed person and the fun person and the adventurous person. It makes sense that you would find someone who can handle some of the other things when you're not in that space, but they're not going to come necessarily to your space. They might be fun loving. And that's why when you see, I was traveling one time and this father and mom and about 6 kids were in the restaurant and they were cracking it up. They were laughing all loud. I was able to just decide that father was the youngest born and he raised his family.
He was silly.
He was super silly, loved it, stupid. And they were having a ball. And it made everybody happier because when you grow up, you take your birth order with you and you raise your family according to the things and the way you saw the things needed to be done. So 2 youngest, not so much. Oldest and youngest is the best match. Middle and youngest is the best match as well. Only and youngest is the best match. But middle do well when they pick youngest because they're used to
only and oldest.
Only oldest, no thank you.
Only and oldest, okay.
No.
Well, what's wrong with them?
Heck no, because the only child thinks they're right, and the oldest person thinks they're right, and they're both right, but they want to be right at the same time in the same places. And if they're not willing to relax and ebb and flow together and understand and allow, they can end up in a lot of um, discussions that get loud. Not that you have to get loud in your discussions, but I'm just saying they don't always just give and take. They're like, no,
Okay.
it has to be this way. This is the right way. This is the only way. There's a lot of ways. So
Okay.
if you have not picked someone who is necessarily a great match for you when it comes to birth order, it just means you need to understand them a little better so you can fill in the gaps and be more understanding of why their whole life they have thought this thing that they have been thinking. Because it's
Mhm.
about continuing your life the way you're used to it being or the way you've shifted and decided it's going to be from now on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's real. Okay. I can understand that. I can
See?
understand that.
Right.
So the identity of the oldest kid would somewhat be the know-it-all. The vague identity of the middle kid would be possibly
Fair.
emotionally unavailable, or the person that would pull away.
Their sentence is it's not fair. That's not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair. That's not fair. This isn't right. That's not right. That's what
Yeah.
the people tend to say. The oldest child would say, let me do it. I got it. Let
Mm.
me handle it. I know what to do here. I got this. Look, watch. The only is the one that says, I know what's going on. I'm right. I know what to do here. I got this. I know.
Yes.
We help you. I got that. You know, I
Uh,
know. I know. Because that's what only children tend to, in their own world, they do.
yeah.
But they also do a lot of that responsibility stuff, like the firstborn, because they're firstborn. But they're also very entertaining, like the youngest. And the youngest is like, live and let live. C'est
Mhm.
la vie. It's
Yeah.
all good. Deuces,
Yeah.
peace. All right. Hey, calm it down. So when we recognize why a person in their stressful space falls back into the sentence of their birth order, it's all
Yeah.
good. It's okay. Then you don't have to get mad at them for being themselves. That's how they were raised
Right. Right. Right.
their whole life. They just met you. So
Yeah.
that's why we really need to know ourselves. So when we present ourselves to people, we're able to say, now, here's some of the way I believe the world works. Here's how I've made the world work for me. Here's some of the issues that I've addressed in my life, and now I'm over them, but this is where I used to be. And when
Hmm.
we're able to have a heart to heart, honest conversation with the people we love and the people who love us, we have a whole different experience because it comes from honesty and not fakery. We fake a lot. A lot of people fake.
So, quick, just a thought. One, everybody hit the like button. Two, how long do you have? Because we said an hour. How long would you want
And
to? It's been an hour already. So, would you like to stay on a little longer, take some questions, or like it's up to you?
yes, let's do questions. Anybody got a question? How
Okay.
coach face? Give me a question.
So look, we're gonna do this. Thank you, Crystal. This is really good. Keep dropping gems.
Awesome.
One, I want to have you talk to the ladies in my culture group. That's the first thing, right?
Okay.
So that's one thing. So with that being said, if any of you in the chat and you are women and you want to get a little bit more in depth with this conversation, join my coaching group. The link is pinned at the top of the chat. One, you can book a one-on-one with me. You can buy my course, or you can join my coaching group, women only. Join my coaching group, and I may we're gonna figure out what the times are, and I want to have Dr. Tori Love come to the coaching group, and we'll spend because in the coaching group, in the group chat, I mean not in the group chat, in a Zoom call, you can literally ask, hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? So if you're a woman in the chat, join my coaching group right now. The link is at the top. Just hit the link and join my coaching group. You can actually join my coaching group for $1 for the first 7 days. So if you're a woman watching this video, join my coaching group. It's linked at the top of the chat. Or if you're watching this after this has aired, the link is in the comments. So if you want to ask a question, I'm going to drop the link and you can come up and ask the question. Oops, wrong thing. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to drop the link and you can come up and ask your particular question. And if you don't want to come up, it's cool. Just put your question in the super chat or send me a Cash App and ask the question through the Cash App. So one, if you want to come up, hit the link. If you don't want to come up, you just want to ask a question, put your question in the super chat and put some color behind it, or send the Cash App and ask the question in the Cash App message, whichever you want to do. So with me, right?
Yes.
I'm an only child. Am I hard to deal with? Just me being an only child, as a male only child.
Aaron, let me tell you something.
Okay.
In my study, I found that when adult only children men married a woman, their lives got better.
Okay.
Because they're already used to handling their own business. They're already used to handling it the way they like it, when they like it, how they like it, and where they like it already, because they don't have a lot of people to have to consider. They don't have a bunch of siblings to be in charge of. They don't have a bunch of siblings to ask about or to consult. So when they marry, they pick on, and this is a societal issue as well when it comes to marriage, because men tend to get to be the bread earner. They get to stay in the position of handling business. Sometimes it's the wife who has to have the babies. It's the wife that has to feed the children. It's the wife who has to wash the dishes and cook and clean and do all of the things that it takes to run a family. But yes, there's dad there. Yes, there's you. However, you may still get to do all the fun things you used to do before, but now you have the benefit of a family around you. When it was different for only children, women who married, if they're in wife position and they take on all of the responsibilities of having babies, raising children, driving kids back and forth to school, cooking, cleaning up.
Female only child?
What's that?
You talking about female only child?
Female only children have a different experience because they're not in our societal space as married people. Because sometimes we have these traditional roles in marriage where, and it's not even in marriage, it's just when you're a family and you're the woman, you got the bulk of the responsibility of handling many of the things that pertain to the family, pertain to the finances. There's just a lot of work. That's why it really is great to have balance and have everybody participating and doing half of it, so it's not all on one person. But in my study, and when it came to satisfaction in the relationships, the women lost a lot of autonomy. They weren't able to run things the way they wanted to. When you take on kids, you take on a whole bunch of other people. And then to clean up behind other people, dealing with anger situations. One of the things about only children is when it came to the arguing, the difference, we'll say, in a big family who argues and an only child who argues. The big family, we argue, we fuss, we fight. 5 minutes later, we're playing again. We get over stuff faster when we're in community. That's why we need community. Right. Only children a little bit different. You piss them off, they think you meant it. They think it was an attack. Yeah. So they're going to be more sensitive when it comes to disengagement. That'd be easier for them than it would be for the family of 10. You're mad, but you're still you sleep in the same bedroom. You got to get over that a lot faster. So if you're dealing with an only child, your job is to be a really great manager of conflict. And the only child has to do it too, and not be so sensitive. And so, because they're often very sensitive. That would be me, only child, I'm real sensitive, right? But it's because we have to ebb and flow in groups. And that's why only children, like you said, fit really great in groups. Love that, all of that, and fit in great. Like you were saying, you kind of meet people and keep them. Once you meet them, you keep them.
Yeah.
Even if
because I be still in folks' mama and everything. Yeah.
Right. So all of that is birth order. And if you understand it and you understand how to address it, and as parents, how to create less demarcation between your kids, it's a parent's job to treat children fairly. And parents don't treat children fairly. They have favorites. They tend to lean toward the child who has a birth order that matches theirs. Did you know that?
Hold on, say that again.
Parents tend to align a little bit more with the child that's in the same position they were in.
In the same birth order that they was in? Yes. So if my mother was an oldest child or my mother was an only, Okay, now we're going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about the parent.
We have to
So a
talk.
lot of y'all are parents,
Right.
right? So now it's important for you to pay attention to how differently you treat each of your kids. So if you were an only child and you have two kids, you may not necessarily know how to relate with the baby or the older child because they are acting differently than how you acted when you were a child.
Okay, wait, let me add that. It would be different if there was a middle child in there because the only is both the first and the youngest, the oldest and the youngest. So if there's just two, there's equality. Only kids are going to relate to the oldest child because that's their only part, their oldest part, but they also relate to the entertaining, the relaxed, the chill, because they get to be both. It's when you have a whole host of people, six of them, then it's easier for the oldest to kind of say, well, that's what it was like for me, oldest child. I had to take care of everybody else. I had to babysit when parents were out. I had to, so you have to.
Yeah.
It makes sense because if we could have a club of all firstborns, and next time, this is really going to be fun. I don't know who's going to do this. Somebody do this. When you're in a crowd, split everybody up into birth orders and let them talk. Put a topic on the wall like responsibility and let the firstborns talk about responsibility. They're all going to say, yeah, it was my job. I had to handle it. I'm the one that took care of this family. I'm the reason that such and such calls me mama, even though he's, my little brother, because they had the same experience. Middle children too. It just wasn't fair. I didn't like the way this happened, and I was going to make a difference, and I made sure. Blah blah blah. It's like a club. It's like a club. It is so similar, but all of that is created by parents, and there's no fault. I'm not blaming the parents, but I'm saying if you want a different experience for your children, make sure that you shift the ownership of things like responsibility. Tell the youngest child you're in charge. You get to pick what's for dinner instead of the oldest child always being the one that has to do the parent, do the job.
So I am my only child. My ex-wife was a younger sibling from her brother, and I have two daughters for about 4 years apart. 4 years apart.
How many?
Two.
How many years apart?
4.
So do you have, so what are your children's birth order positions?
I don't get it. One is younger, one is older. I don't get it.
You have two only children. You have recreated yourself twice.
How?
There's a 4-year separation between your daughters, right?
Yeah.
One of them is very unique. She's very creative. She's very sweet, but she's very determined and she's very, very bunch of stuff. True or true? The youngest is too, but just it's a different flavor. True or true?
No, they're totally different.
That's my point. She has picked her own uniqueness. She's doing her own thing her own way because her older sister is 4 years apart. So
my youngest followed my family system to a T and has graduated from the family system and found a husband that runs my same family system in another person and has her own family system ran by somebody like me.
Of course.
My oldest is just living her life or whatever, no family system or whatever. And so my oldest is like, can't nobody tell me nothing. I'm gonna do what I want to do. But my youngest is like, yes, sir, no, sir. What I got to do next, the personality wise. So what does that mean?
What that says to me is you have an oldest child who is doing her own thing as a firstborn and an only, a psychological only, because she went off to school. She started being impacted by kindergarten class, pre-K 4, all the different other people in life while we're back home taking care of that little baby. That little baby was by herself. She got to be her own unique person. She fell in love. She's also a bit of the youngest, more youngest than psychological oldest. She's more psychological only, but she's got a bit more flair of being the youngest child because she got doted on a
But
little differently.
my
But
oldest was my youngest mommy. She mommied her little sister. She was like her mom.
yeah,
Her second mom.
right.
She mothered my oldest mothered my youngest more than her own mother did. Not saying her mother didn't do a good job. She did a great job. But the mothering or the over mothering came
Mhm.
from the oldest daughter.
That's what happens when you have an oldest child. They become the responsible person for the rest of the family. They may
Mm.
still have the psychological only foundation because the first 4 years of their lives they were still figuring it out. That looks like the best route for me. I'm not taking none of those. This is my way. Nobody's here to stop or shape me. I'm shaping me. I'm good. Oh, there's a new person to take care of. Well, let me show them the way. Let me help them
Yeah.
understand how to do this. Step here, don't step there. Oh,
Mm.
oh, let me get you out of that. Okay, step over here. So she's going to be a little bit more responsible because she has a sibling. It's a very young one, and she's
Mhm.
still very responsible over that. But the youngest one learns I can still be me, but I still have a lot of support. I have the parents, I still have my sister, and I can still do my own thing. And I'm
Mhm.
going to pick, which is what most of us do. We pick partners who remind us of how our parents loved us, whether they loved us well or not. We pick partners who will duplicate that in our lives. So a
Yep.
lot of times you'll find people saying they married their dad or they married their mom.
She
That's true.
literally married me and
Yeah.
another person.
Yeah, and they're out there. There's plenty. There's plenty of choices. So many choices. You can pick anybody, and you
My
can
gr-
let somebody go and pick somebody new. Okay.
my woman got with me, and I, according to her, am just like her dad.
Oh, what's his birth order?
I don't know.
Let's find out. Okay, we'll find out later. But
Okay.
I would wonder if he's a firstborn or an only.
Okay.
I bet.
Oh, is your dad a firstborn or an only? Just put it in the chat. Is your dad a firstborn or only? So we'll keep going. So that would
See,
be interesting.
my dad is a firstborn, and my mom is the youngest.
Mm,
See that? Firstborn and youngest. Great match.
mm-hmm.
Great match. And then if you just, it's just if you know what you're dealing with, you can make it work out so much better. And if
Yeah.
you're a parent, you can set things up so that your kids won't have such clear separations in their personalities. So let me do some references and stuff. If you want to find me, I'm Dr. Tori Love on Instagram and Facebook. I talk
Mm-hmm.
about this all the time. I'm also a coach, so you can see me personally. We can work through the stuff going on in your family, find better ways for you to do what you do. If you like this topic, you can read up on it. Go online, look up Kevin Leman, The Birth Order Connection. The Birth Order Connection is a book about great pairings when it comes to love. You could literally open the book and it'll tell you the things that you'll have to look at and deal with or enjoy about the birth order of the person based on your birth order. You got to know who you are first. Otherwise, you'll be picking the wrong birth order, wondering why it doesn't match you. It's your psychological position that matters. It's how you think of the world and how you think of yourself. You can think
Hold
of
on.
yourself as a
So
middle child.
what's his book? Birth Order
It's
what?
called The Birth Order Connection by Kevin
Connection.
Leman, Leman. Kevin Leman. He's the one who also wrote the New Birth Order book, which talks about you. You're like, how does this man know me? He knows you. He doesn't need your name. Go in there and look and see about, learn things about yourself that have been going on your whole life. And then you can say, man, I was always wondering why I always noticed that when I watch television, or I always align with this character, or why I like Law and Order, or why I like certain shows. What's
Mm-hmm.
your favorite TV show? Let me ask you that. Let's see.
Wait, why I like certain shows?
Yes. What's your favorite TV show?
Hold on. Michelle, come up to the chat. Michelle, come up to the chat. Michelle, come up to the chat. So, my favorite movie is Fight Club.
Hmm.
I don't know if you ever seen Fight Club. That was my favorite movie ever. Favorite
Hmm.
movie. I've watched that movie like at least 50 times.
Why do you like it?
So, um, because Fight Club was actually about some only child stuff. It was, for those who never watched Fight Club, it's about a guy that was a loser, and all of a sudden his house just caught on fire, his apartment, right? And now he's homeless, and he's at this bar, and he ends up sitting down with a guy that he later finds out, is him.
Oh.
So he's sitting down with this guy, and the guy's like, oh, your house burned down? Come stay with me. And he's like, well, I ain't got no choice, but okay. So they start hanging out, and he goes to his house, and his house is trashed. Like it's just a crappy house, right? And he's like, wow, you have no responsibilities. He don't know that this is him, but he's like, yo, you have no responsibilities. How do you live like this, right? He's like, hey, like, there's no reason. But my question is, why do you live the way you do? Mr. Anxious, scared of your own shadow, scared of you're performative, you're scared of letting people down. Why do you live the way you live, right? And they actually start getting to fighting. They start punching each other, right? And he's like, yo, what's going on? He's like, no, this is fun. And the other guy was like, fighting is fun? Yeah. And he's like, now hit me back. Come on, hit me back. He's like, okay. Right? And they actually started fighting each other, and they both got bloody mouths and stuff. He was like, yo, this is actually fun. Right? So the movie starts where they start a fight club, because every man naturally wants to get to fight other men. It's fun to us. We're like competitors. So he starts this whole fight club, and it turns into like a big organization. And this is some only child stuff. The reason why the organization was put together by himself, because as an only child, you should know this also, Tori, we talk to ourselves as kids. We had another person. So the reason why I think I identify with this movie so much is because I used to talk to myself as a kid, and my other myself was a whole nother personality than I was, just like the movie. So the movie was about taking down the hierarchy that controls our lives, and they started burning down the credit places. So your credit score doesn't work. They started taking over stuff. They caught a politician in the bathroom. It was like, hey, you're gonna do what we say, or we're gonna get you. So the whole bunch of, we're gonna take down the man type of stuff, right? They actually went to a gas station, and they held the gas station up, and they took the guy in the back of the gas station. It was like, all right, what do you want to do in your life? And he was like, what? By gunpoint. He was like, what do you want to do in your life? I want to be a doctor. He was like, okay. He took his license and says, okay, you're at so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. I'm going to come back and blank you in 2 months. If you haven't went to school to be a doctor, I'm going to come back and do that. But if you go and actually fulfill your dream, I ain't gonna mess with you. So get out of here. That is like freeing people.
What do you think you're doing here?
Freeing people. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. That's why I identify with the movie. Yes.
That's your birth order talking.
I yell at people and be like, yo, you either gonna do this, or I'm gonna yell at you. So the movie, that's why I identify with. It's only child stuff.
Yes.
So yeah.
Birth order is such a powerful part of our lives. How I would have probably married somebody else if I had really understood how important it is to relationships.
Yeah.
Because I married a firstborn.
So
we clashed.
What does my favorite movie say about me or whatever? Because you asked that.
Well, you just told me you are doing the same thing the characters in the movie are doing.
Mm-hmm.
You had that same wrestling match with yourself. That's
Yes.
your whole life story right there in
Yep.
a movie that somebody else wrote. Because
Yep.
that was their struggle. Somebody wrote that because that made sense for them. And it drew people like you. And then look at what you're doing in life.
Mm-hmm.
You're designed to what? Free people.
Yeah.
That's why if we all look at our favorite movie, oh, I could talk all day about this. I'm not going to. What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite TV show? What makes you, yeah, what is that? That has a lot to do with why you're here, what your
Yeah.
purpose is. I'm going to go all over into this too, where your passion lies. But when you
Yeah.
understand that, it makes sense. It just all makes sense. It just makes sense. So that's why Fight Club is your favorite movie, because that's you.
Yeah. So Michelle,
Based
what's
on
your
your story.
favorite
Hey, Michelle.
movie or whatever?
Hola. Favorite movie? Well, I know my favorite TV shows would be talk shows, The Own Channel, Iyanla, Oprah. Those are my favorite things to watch on TV. Just things to keep your mind going and operating and thinking. Um, but yeah, that was my favorite.
Are you a firstborn?
I am.
You look like it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wait,
Wait, I look like
she
it. What do you
Yeah.
mean?
No, you look like a firstborn. See, even firstborns having a bad hair day look great.
Oh, thank you.
They do. They do. That's just how you know.
I have on sweatpants and a tank top.
Exactly. And you still look cute. Okay. What's your
Hold
question?
on. Dr. Tori, do you recognize her from last night?
Hey, no, hey, hey.
Hola.
She wasn't there.
Oh no. Oh, this is a picture.
Yes.
You showed me a picture. Hey, how you
Hi.
doing?
How you doing, girl?
Okay.
I was talking
Okay.
about her. I was talking about you last night. So,
Where are you?
so
Yeah, see,
yes.
well, talks about you. We were talking about birth order and stuff.
Yep, I'm the oldest.
Are you?
Yeah,
Okay.
my family dynamic is pretty elaborate, I guess you can say.
Huh?
I'm the firstborn. There's seven of us. The baby is still in the adoption system, so he's not old enough to find us. But we were in foster care and adopted, and I was adopted with my brother right after me. So he's a year and 2 weeks younger than me. So throughout foster care, we didn't live together, but when we got 9 and 8, we were adopted together
Okay, so where were you the first 4 years of your life?
between foster homes.
So you lived in multiple places from
Hmm.
0 to 4. You had siblings above you, around you, below you, all of that, but you still had to manage and maintain the fact that you knew you could move at any moment, or you had just
Exactly.
moved and found yourself moved. Like, wait a minute, where am I now? What? Huh? So you
Yep.
probably, which birth order did you align with when you heard us talk about the different ones?
Which one did I align with?
We asked you what's your birth order. What would you say?
Probably. Oh my God, it's seven of us. Probably with the fourth one. Probably the most with the fourth one. The third and fourth one.
Okay, so you think of yourself as the youngest?
Oh well, no, I think of myself as the oldest. I don't think of myself as anything other than that. But if I
Okay.
had to connect, more with any of them, it'd probably be the third or the fourth sibling.
Okay. I would guess that because you had to handle so much on your own, even though you have a
She
brother,
was the only child.
I would say psychological only.
Hmm.
I would say that simply because you didn't get to stay with any group very long. I don't know how many shifts you had between 0 and 4, but chances are
Hmm.
let's say you had 3. Well, in one family, you
Yeah.
had to get along and fit, but then you shifted to a new family, you had to get along and fit. And then you went to a new family and had to do the same sort of thing. So you might have had a lot of interaction with a lot of different types of positioning, but you ultimately had to still figure it out for yourself. You still had to say, I got to decide where I'm going to put this doll at night. So in the morning, if I need to grab it, I'm going to have it. So, you probably still did a lot of
Correct.
psychological. Yeah, the psychological only thing tends to happen when you have a lot of movement. So you
Now,
may have a
would
brother.
that be the case with my brother who also had the same story as me, he would be
In the
classified
first
as a
4 years,
psychological owner.
I would guess so. In the first 4 years, if he had a lot of motion and movement and not a lot of stability. If you have stability for the first 4 years, you live in one house, same parents, same brother or older person or younger or whoever's in the family, then you have time to be indoctrinated into the system. But if you have to move, you have to start all over again with a whole new group and figure out your place and fit in where you get in where you fit in. And that can
Right.
become um, obviously frustrating a little bit, but it makes a
Yeah.
level of independence where you say, I got this under my own control. I'm going to run this show. This is going to be what's going to be like. So you have a
Mhm.
lot more of resilience when it comes to handling things and flexing. You have to flex.
Resilient.
I'll
Yes,
flex.
she's very resilient. Yeah.
Yeah. So birth order matters even when you've been added to a family or if you get moved around a bit. But there's that independence that comes from being the only one who's moved. If you and your brother were together and you had been moved those 3 times, it would have solidified you as the oldest, him as the youngest, the two of you together. But he was separated from you. So you were still reaching for each other. And when you found each other, you're like, oh, great, we're 6 and 8 or 8 and 9. Woo, we're going to hold on together forever. But by then it was a choice because you were 7 and 8. You've been in schools, you met teachers, you had new people, you had media, you had a bunch of other stuff impact you. So I would
Look like
say,
we lost her.
oh, is she frozen?
Yeah, she froze up.
Yeah, I would say
Come
psychological
back.
of them.
Come. You lost. You got you broke up. Come back if you can come back. She must have went into a bad area. But this was very helpful. This was very helpful.
This was fun. This was fun. I enjoyed this today. Y'all can check me out at lovelivinglife.com. Again, if y'all want any more of this or any more of me, just lovelivinglife.com. You can email me wisdom at lovelivinglife.com or, hit me up on Instagram. I have a Cash App too. Doggone it. Cash App, Cash Tori, TORRILUV, if you'd like some of this. But I think
Hold
we share
on. Cash
information.
App.
I appreciate you.
Hold on. Let
I
me
do.
put it here. It's
Thank you for having
TORRILUV.
LUV.
Okay.
This is
So
fun. Isn't this fun? This
this
is
was
fun.
very fun. Yeah. Yeah.
I hope somebody realizes and has a conversation tonight about their birth order with their loved one and has a conversation about what was it like when you were 6 at home or 4?
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Who was
Hmm.
there? You will learn so much and they don't even have to know what you know that you're using to figure things out.
Hmm.
Use your knowledge. Use your knowledge. So we should do a part 2. I think this was fun.
Yeah, we could definitely do a part 2. We could do part 2. So put some fire in the chat if y'all learned something. Put some fire emojis in the chat or put some clap emojis in the chat if y'all enjoyed this conversation. Come on, everybody, put some fire emojis or put some clap emojis in the chat because this was
Where's the chat?
this is like super dope. I really enjoyed this because I learned a lot because I was like, whoa. So everybody go follow Dr. Tori Love. Is easy to find. It's Dr. Tori Love on Instagram. And hit her up. And
Yeah.
do you have any courses or anything that you sell?
Yes, I have my little book of wisdom, 52 lessons I've learned from living life. I can show you how it works. That's on Amazon under Dr. Tori Love Griffin. Pick a number between 1 and 52. Let me show you something.
30.
Lesson 30, Aaron says this. God is always one step ahead of me in getting what I'm looking for on my agenda. He's simply waiting for me to arrive at the proper location that he told me to go. There I will meet what I seek. Here's how that applies to the last 7 days or the next 7 days of your life. Sometimes we don't know where we're supposed to be, but we've got an unction to go do something or go someplace. And last night you decided to go to this event. You could have found 16 other things to do, but you were like, no, this is my buddy. I'm gonna go do what he invited me to do. I'm going. And you did. And all kinds of great conversation came from that. Sometimes what we're looking for is one decision away from where we are. So in the next 7 days, follow that unction you have inside to go do what you think you might. I'll do it. Because something you're looking for is trying to find you the same way you're looking for it.
Yeah.
So 7 days, look for that. And that's lesson 30 from my little book of wisdom, 52 lessons I've learned from living life. I do have a coaching group coming up with the license to date. You need a license to drive, a license to hunt, license to fish. Surely you need to know more about dating in the new millennium. I've got a group coming up for anybody, men, women, old and young, to talk about the things you need to know on the highway of love so you don't crash and burn or cause other incidents. But hit me up, Dr. Tori Love, on Instagram, and wisdom@loveliving.life.com is my website, and my email at loveliving.life.com.
And let me ask you this. The second I came to an event, what happened?
You walked over to our group and we all started talking. Just this
the
little
whole time.
groups. We all talked the whole night, just the same little group.
Yep.
And there's some things that we were able to see going on in the room that were going on in the room.
We started pointing out different things in the room, and there was a specific reason why all of us were having a conversation other than the other people. We ain't gonna talk about what it was, but when I pointed it out, you was like,
bingo.
Oh wow.
I see.
Yeah.
There's so much more in this conversation. We'll have to have this a second time. People do what they think is best. And that's why the more information we have about what is best can change and shift us to doing different things and getting better results. I say we need to use common sense to remove nonsense so our relationships make sense. You've noticed a lot of relationships don't make any kind of sense. Well, what are you doing? Does that make any sense? Does it make any sense? If it doesn't, then maybe we can shift a little bit, do things that make a little more sense and get a little better results out of our relationships. So that's why the license to date matters so much to me. So license to date, if you're interested in my coaching group coming up once a month, let me know. I'll get you in.
All right. Well, thank you so much for pulling up on us. This was very educational and entertaining. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. Talk to everybody later.
Peace out.